everyone. We are in late August and I thought this would be a good time for me to give everyone an update on my experimental dahlia project. Now, a few months ago, I posted that I was going to do an experimental patch, basically putting my dahlia tubers into what was small half-gallon pots. Now, half-gallon pots are really, really small. I think 1-gallon pots would have been pushing it, but I was curious to see how would production look like in terms of productivity. How would the space look like as a whole, and would it have better implications for me to store the dahlias in the fall? Now, plans have kind of changed and I'm going to explain why, but first I want to show you how these dahlias look before we talk about how the plans have changed. All right, so like everywhere else in this field, it's a weedy mess, but there are still dahlias, obviously. And what I'm finding is that, obviously this is less productive as a whole than the dahlia patches that are not in pots. So not surprising. But what I am also finding is that there are certain varieties that kind of don't care where they are growing. If they're growing in a pot, if they're growing, with a lot of space. This is American Sunset. It is like one of the most prolific dahlias ever in terms of being a flower producing dahlia. And I find that it is equally as productive in this small pot versus, let me show you, I have a couple growing down here, and I must have sold at least maybe 20 of these to my co-op. So, I cut these down really, really low. So these are starting to bud up again. But I am finding that the productivity difference is really no different between the pot and that. I find that something like Boom Boom took a little bit longer to bloom, but again, similar level of productivity. You can see how many bloom heads there are. There are other things like this is, I think, a Jowie Murillo, some Jowie Winnie maybe. Less productive, but also because I did not pinch. So you can see that, there are some dahlias over here where it's just starting to grow. There looks like there might be some nutrient deficiencies over there. As a whole, slightly less productive, but definitely dependent on variety, which is super interesting to me. And I don't think necessarily a surprise for people who have grown dahlias for a while. So what has changed then? What has changed is that structure in the back. That structure is our new pole barn, and it is first and foremost a place for us to park our cars as well as our tractor. But it was built in mind for flower production. So primarily for tulips, for a rooting area for the tulips in winter, but also for season extension. So what I am going to do is I am going to take some of these dahlias in the pots and put them into crates over here. So I'm actually just going to take the crates where the lilies are done, take out the bulbs and put the pot, or take out the tubers from the pot, put them directly into the crate and let them grow in there with a little bit more space. And when frost comes, we are going to basically transport them into that pole barn structure to get a few more weeks out of them. Dahlias are obviously a very, very profitable crop if you sell them to the right person. So designers being one of them. So I'm going to cherry pick colors that do well, fall colors, to get them into the crates. And hopefully, even if I can eke out another like 2-3 weeks after frost, I'm getting at least $2.50 to $3 per stem. It's totally worth it. So obviously on my list is American Sunset, which not only has a great color for the fall and not only sells out every single time, it's also highly prolific. So I'm going to try to cherry pick varieties like that, put them into crates. We're not going to go crazy because I still have to get my lilies in there and stuff. So this is an experiment. And what I really want to do is utilize that garage to extend the season on the fall side and also get a little bit earlier of a start in the spring. So the beauty of growing in a pot is how easy it is to lift out this pot and basically transplant this into this crate over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out and I'm going to show you what the tuber looks like at this stage. So that was fairly easy getting out of the pot, mainly because it rained last night. So it was easy to just take out. For some of the other ones that I've been doing, I've actually had to cut the pot. But anyway, this is what it looks like right now. You can see there's some tuber production here that's growing. There's some root boundness happening, but to a lesser extent than I would have expected. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this right now and plop it in here. Cover it. I might fertilize it a little bit with something like a Neptune's Harvest and just let this go its merry way. So hopefully it's going to enjoy the new space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig up some other varieties to show you if the root boundness or the tubers look any different than American Sunset. Oh, well, look at that. We have a volunteer celosia in this pot and it is all going to come out together. Look how easy that was. So amazing. So I think this one's the Jowie Winnie, and we are going to put it into this crate over here. I just love how I'm able to reuse this crate without needing to do too much in the way of putting more soil in. Here's some of the spent lily bulbs that I had. Here are some that have aborted buds. This is, again, what happens when you grow in non-ideal weather conditions for lilies, but we are going to reuse the crate, and we already got some lilies out of this crate too. So it's making do with what we have. And this celosia doesn't look that great, so I'm gonna take it out after. But yeah, we're gonna take this out of the pot and see how the root system is. So unfortunately, I am not a very gentle soul, and I disconnected it from the bigger root system, but there is still tuber, so I have hope. I'm going to plant this into probably the ground where it has a higher chance, I think, of surviving. But before I do that, let us take a look at this root system over here. So obviously harder for me to take out, and I did have to basically ruin the pot, but you can see that this one definitely has a lot more of a robust tuber production system. And this would have really struggled, I think, in another few weeks from a production standpoint. But I'm going to see if I can actually salvage some of these tubers over here, even though it's super wet and they haven't had a chance to cure, but we'll see. So oh look, I'm able to get this out right now. Yeah, so this is what the tubers look like. I don't know, who knows, maybe if I bury this right now it might even sprout a little bit. No. So yeah, maybe I'll actually put it into a crate and see what happens. And here she is into the ground, and I think she'll be fine. I will report back though if she isn't. All right, here's another one. This one is, I don't remember the variety, but it's got like a pink purple ball type of head. So took it out of the pot, had to murder the pot, but you can see also, just a little bit more tuber production on this one. Not as much root ball again as I would have expected, and that is going to go into the crate. Yay, another one where I did not have to kill the pot to get it out. So you can see over here, again, very, very robust root growth. This here is a ball dahlia, which I'm prioritizing putting into the crates because ball dahlias tend to do a lot better at our co-op with designers. I've only got to focus on it, but yeah, this looks like it'll be a popular color, so gonna put this one out into the crate. I feel like we are getting a lily and dahlia video in one. One thing that I am noticing as I am digging up these lily bulbs to compost is you can tell that these were a lot healthier lilies. The stalks are longer on here, which means that I had very long stems when I was cutting, versus some over here. Like I'm trying to show you some examples where this was a succession where it was planted at a time where it was not as hot, so a lot of these turned out to be taller. But what I'm really trying to say is the root system on here is massively bigger than, let me show you some that I dug up earlier. Like this one's a good example. Like this one's really nothing here. So it does go to show you when the optimal conditions are met, how much healthier the lily plant is, which in all honesty doesn't matter if you're going to treat them as an annual. But if you are going to perennialize them, then it does obviously make a difference. All right, guys, boom, boom, white. This is the one I've been most curious because it is prolific, and I wanted to see how the root system looked like. Came out cleanly. Look at this, lots of tubers. I have heard that Boom Boom White tends to be a very prolific tuber producer. So this is confirming it. I'm surprised at how well it is growing, even in such a small pot. And we're gonna get it into that crate over there, and hopefully it will be a lot happier. All right, guys, there you have it. Just 4 dahlias for now. I gotta reserve some of these crates for lilies. I have probably about 275 lilies that need to go into crates, and here's some lilies that, man, they're growing a lot faster than I thought they would. I was using my own compost. This is when you know your compost did not age properly, because there's a lot of weeds in here, but some of them I'm not going to complain because I'm getting some free amaranth, which is going to be great for the fall. But yeah, like, I will continue to keep you guys updated on this little experiment, and we'll see how this goes. So before I sign off, I'm very sweaty right now, just want to elaborate on a couple of things. There will eventually be grow lights in there, but not for the dahlias. The intent of this is to not grow dahlias under grow lights. The intent is season extension. Oftentimes we find that there is a first frost that does its damage for the warm loving crops. And then there's like a few weeks of like good nighttime weather where there is no frost. So the goal is to protect it for that kind of night. And we have a pallet over there with a forklift attachment on the tractor. So we're just gonna stack the crates on the pallet and then be able to move them in and out without too much effort, hopefully. And you know, we'll do that a few times until it becomes too onerous and it feels like we're doing it every single night. So I'm hoping to be able to eke out a few more weeks out of that through this method. And the other thing to highlight here is I'm just trying to figure out how to push the seasons, the shoulder seasons especially, because a lot of people are going to be done at my co-op once the freeze comes. A lot of, 2 of the bigger growers are basically focusing on dahlias for the rest of the year. And, you know, when frost comes, they're done, right? You know, my specialty, hopefully, that I'm hoping to be able to hone in on is that season extension and that shoulder season where that is a time of year designers don't have access to a lot of local blooms, and they'll have access to cold loving crops, but not necessarily things that they love to work with like dahlias. So always trying to think outside the box, always trying to think with stuff that I already have, not putting in too much effort. The crates being one great example here. You know, even though everything's going to get composted, there's effort to wheel that out, to compost it. There's effort to get more compost in and using that. So to the extent that I can recycle stuff, it makes my life easier and helps from a resource constrainment point of view. It is starting to rain now, so I will now log off and I will see you in the next video.